back in the forest, I have been thinking about some of my deep forest thoughts about the stories. The stories, actually, Torus has more stories um, and myths and legends, which I don't even like to call them myths because a lot of time myths are actually things that happen, but they turn to mythology to kind of discredit their authenticity. So the stories um, around Taurus, there's more than any of the other signs. And what's interesting about Taurus is it's spelled Taurus, but really can also be, because vowels are interchangeable in etymology, so it can really be about the torus, Torus, which is the toroidal field, which is everything that makes up this reality is a toroidal field or multiple toroidal fields. The whole entire realm is a toroidal field. Um, this is according to, many ancients believe this, and the physics of our reality, shows this. All the plants grow in a toroidal type shape, up and out and over from a central point. We have a toroidal field, and the center point is the hyperbola, which is the Jed pillar, which is the channel of the chakras. And this channel, we were able to run our energy up and connect to the cosmos, and energy down and connect to the earth, and it kind of keeps us tethered. Also, the center should be a place of rest. So within the center is this centering quality that is where rest, it's like the plane of inertia. So the inertia is rest. And when you balance all your chakras and your energy fields and you're connecting and feel very aligned, you are at rest in the center. No matter what is coming at you, you still stay in the center at rest. So when I think about, so the hyperbola, actually bowl is in there, which is actually bull. So that also connects to the Taurus season, Taurus energy. And, originally it was a feminine image of the bull, the calf, the mother, the provider, Hathor. And then it somehow, magically turned to a bull and a male figure. So, these things, because we come from the feminine, there's no denying it. So we need the feminine involved to create. So we have to remember that this is a very feminine earth sign, and it can be made masculine, but it is a feminine sign, and earth is a feminine being. So, and we are a part of the earth. I was thinking a lot about the stories of that people, I listen to people tell their story about, a breakup or just through their experiences, they have developed a story and a mistrust of themselves. And it's interesting because, when you think about the phenomenon of Mandela effects, and everyone's really focused on what the effects are and what, going to find all the Mandela effects and seeing how when something gets changed, it gets changed forward and back. Well, no wonder we're very confused about history and our story, and because things get changed. And the evidence disappears because it changes forward and back. Well, we can do that with our stories. We can change the story, and it will change our reality. If you want to be in a relationship, but you're still saying, oh, I just don't trust myself because the last few guys I brought in were, you know, the last few partners were not, okay. And that gets into boundaries, that gets into our own sense of self-worth. But the place where you begin is the story of what you've had, what you've experienced. If you want to change that, and you create a new story. And I've been rereading Carlos Castaneda's Journey to Ixtlan, and there's a lot in there about that, about how we've started out a certain way, and then we just keep going in this one direction, and then we end up miserable and in so much self-loathing. And part of it is this perpetuation of our story. We have disturbed childhoods, we have things that happen to us that are out of our control, and we don't ever really fully manage and deal with them and clear them from our field. So then we just keep perpetuating the same situation. So you could have a story about yourself like, oh, I'm never picked for the thing, and so because I believe that about myself, then I recreate that, because our thoughts are creating everything. So, when you change your story, you change your reality. So it's good to get to a place where you can observe what you're thinking all the time, because it's not just in meditation, in ceremony, during these times when you're focused on that. It's all the other times, because part of this too is not a steel trap. This is a transmitter and receiver of information, and there's tons of information floating around all day, everywhere. So, and then it gets into, I can tell when they put some news out here, to the certain political affiliations, and everybody gets in a certain fear space about it. I can feel that because I don't pay attention to that, but I can feel it, and I'm like, why does the energy feel weird? Well, because the more people they get in alignment with this information and the news, the more they can just bring down and disturb the field, because we are in this energetic field, and these are receiving and transmitting energies through our thoughts. And so really it becomes about, what are you thinking? That's the first step. It's like, what am I thinking all day, every day? And then catch yourself in thoughts and be like, well, why do I think that about myself? Where does that come from? And then you can get to the root of where that thought came from, pull it out, because it's a weed. Maybe it's taking over the garden, and then plant something new. So, it's a long process, but it's a great process, because it gets you to a place of peace and rest and trust. So trusting in this reality is one of the major things that needs to be accomplished, and that's through self-mastery. If you don't have a hold of your brain, and you don't understand what you're thinking all the time and how it's shaping your reality, well, then you are lost. So, and you will be swayed by information, because this is an information age where we are flooded with so much information. It's really hard to know what is true and what is to be trusted for each one of us, because we're all so different, right? We all have very different astrologies, very different energies we're running, different lifestyles, all that. So what's true for you? You know, because it's really in these moments where you're just like the other day, someone was telling me their story, their breakup story. And in that whole story, I did not hear, well, what was your role in it? Are you just, like woke up one day and they were pissed off? Or was there things that led up to it? And owning your part in a relationship is one of the core foundations of empowering yourself and not victimizing yourself. And then this story, I'm sure he's told it over and over and over, so it gets momentum. And he's the victim. Is he a victim? No, I don't think he's a victim at all. But the way the story is told, it is, which is like the other person just is doing stuff to me, then, you really can't get anywhere with your own development. And then you're stuck in these stalemates, because if you change that story in the ethereal, that gets the ball rolling. And the ethereal, the ether is thick with energy. So the ether is a power that is, and the spoken word is very powerful. And I think it's underestimated. Well, and they don't even want to acknowledge the ether for, many reasons. But this is why we have a thought and someone, picks it up and calls us, hey, I just thought about you. Oh, yeah, I was just thinking about you. And it's faster than our technology, which is we're not in a high-tech age, okay? We have been in high-tech ages before, and it wasn't millions of years ago either. So I think we have to really recognize we're in kind of a low-tech age. So, but there's always been a technology that is the ether. And that technology is very powerful, especially when you understand how to work with it. And you become conscious of your thoughts and your word. So, it's deep thoughts from the forest. Thanks for listening.